Welcome to Authentic Living with Roxanne on Global Voice Radio. Join Roxanne Durhodge and her thought-provoking conversations, the catalyst to live your life to the fullest.
Hi everyone, it's Roxanne Durhodge again. Nice that you're checking in with me again. I'm the author of Authentic, A Therapist Insider's Guide on Relationships, Healing the Past. And I'm privileged today to have with me a special guest that I met just in December in New York, Mr. Hank Norman. And he's a man that within seconds can tell you, okay, you're on the mark. You need to work on it. You need to get authentic. So I've got a bit of a bio on Hank, and I'll do my best, but I think it's best that Hank tells us about himself. But he's a brand builder, media mogul. He's worked with media stars for over 25 years. He's worked with celebrities such as Barbara Walters, Steve Harvey, Grant Cardone, and Janine Pirro. And he's helped launch networks like Oxygen and the Grant Cardone Network, which are obviously out there, and The View, which most of the Canadians would obviously know that show. And he's a producer and executive by trade who has become a brand builder. And you've helped multiple TV personalities. And what you want to know, everyone to know out there, is that if you need to get attention, go out and get it yourself. And you're going to hopefully share some tips and things that we can do today about getting connected. So thanks so much, Hank. And Hank is in New York City, so he's a little ways away from me in Niagara Falls. But thanks again, Hank, for being here.
Thanks, Roxanne. I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you at the Les Brown event.
Yes, and you just, within seconds could peg, I know you had seen a bit of me on stage, and you gave me some pretty insightful bits, which I took quite seriously in working with my speaking coach to go back and really...
What did I tell you?
Drop the psyche things, you said, the psychological stuff. You said, my speaking was pretty good, but that I needed to move it down a notch or make it more practical to the average person to be able to relate to what I was saying. And I think, unless you can remember differently, I think that's what you did.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of doctors. I have worked with tons of celebrities, but I've also worked, so how I kind of got in this business and how I'm now helping everybody from entrepreneurs to anybody really blow up their social media. And, no matter what business you're in, you've got to be concerned about where the next customer is coming from. And even if you work for a company, you've got to be concerned about where the income is coming from. Like I work inside of huge dealerships now because of Grant has such a reach into dealerships. I'm working with full dealerships to get everybody to raise their online profiles, and it magnifies the entire company. And how I got into this is I'm a TV producer who became a development executive that worked with people exactly like you, getting experts on air, taking people who were category experts that we call in TV. And it really was, how do you make somebody who's a doctor? How do you take someone who's a yoga instructor? How do you take someone who's a cook? How do you take someone who does any one thing that they know really well and has all that insider jargon? And how do you help them make that relatable to a mass audience? So beginning with working with exactly people just like you, I've expanded that to, I now just do that for everybody.
So good example, right? I've been in the field of psychotherapy for a long time, but I've done consulting. So I've worked a lot with executives, but when I'm speaking to the end user, I'm like a lot of coaches or business people online, whoever's in front of them or reaching out to them in social media means touch points, I would assume, so that people can relate. Am I getting that right? Or what kind of things do people need to keep in mind when they're getting out there, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a coach, like you said, dealerships? I'm going to assume that you meant car dealerships. Is that what you meant?
Dealers, yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. As you probably know, I have a 7-year-old. I had been coaching people for decades. And when my daughter was even a toddler, before she could speak, it was so obvious to see that when me or my wife would turn the phone sideways and she would know she was on air, on camera, that she was being recorded, she would immediately not perform, but make herself the best version of herself that she could be without language, she just knew the repercussions of being recorded. What that taught me in that moment, even though I'd coached hundreds, if not thousands of people, is we all have this propensity to, when we get on camera, to put on this performance face, to put on this side of us that's to impress people, to make people think better of us. And what people are really looking for on camera is authenticity. What people really want now, because of the abundance of content, reality shows, YouTube, we know what it's like to hear somebody talk for real and be themselves and say something that's real. This idea of, and doctors are the worst, by the way, because they have this bedside manner, that's this ingrained way of making the patient feel better. That's awesome, except that doesn't work here. I now need you to actually be a person, not a doctor. That's a show. That performance of making that one person feel good is phony. That's not real. People want a real interaction with people. So I spend a lot of time having people, well, I don't believe in unlearning, because you can't unlearn what you know. So, but they have to move past that. You have to adopt this brand new personality, which is getting comfortable being yourself in a public setting, as odd as it sounds. It's
so really almost having the touch points of vulnerability that maybe you would share with people closer to you. So we're in front of a camera right now. We're basically talking to each other. If I have to be able to relate to you or anyone else, like I would be someone that I'm very comfortable with. Is that what you want from people that are getting in front of?
And you have to learn to do it. And you have to learn to perform. You have to put enough hours in on camera, and you can get them now because we have cameras this is a camera. My phone is a camera. You practice enough, you can get comfortable to be who you really are on stage, meaning in front of people. Walking down the street, making an Instagram story is you on stage, is a performance. I mean, we require that from human beings. And so we don't accept it from our leaders, our experts, from anybody. Like, I'm not going to do business with somebody that I think is being phony. And what I help people do is learn to actually grow their online presence by actually being themselves. In a strange way, it really is a getting back to who you are and being comfortable with yourself. I mean, I only know TV producers, but if I'm in a mixed crowd at a cocktail party and someone asks me what I do, I say I teach self-confidence. I teach people to be themselves in public. It's not easy to do. I mean, when I saw my daughter doing it before she could even speak English, I knew that it's something innately we have as human beings to like want to impress people. So everybody, when that red light goes on, not that there's no red lights anymore, but back in the day in TV and on the recorders, the red light used to go on, people immediately freeze. And it's learning to not freeze. It's learning to relax under pressure. It's confidence building.
So how do you, tell me what you do. Like, I mean, I've seen you, I often see you walking around New York City and your hair's blowing with that hairstyle. And I'm like, there he goes again, right? And you're in the subway or you're on the street. And I'm like, how do and people are walking past you and stuff like that. What are some of the things that you kind of teach in some of your coaching or courses that allows people to not freeze when they see that camera, kind of projected at them?
Like you might imagine, Roxanne, and I'm sure you know, and I'm sure you give your clients exercises to do as well. It literally is a muscle. You have to you learn it, you do it. The only way to get better at running is to run. The only way to get stronger is to go to the gym and lift weights. The only way to get better on camera is get on camera. And we have it. The beauty is the world has so radically changed. This is the piece that is so fascinating and so interesting. Nobody actually is understanding, and I think we're all just starting to, like, you and I are talking face to face right now. This is like Star Trek stuff that we only and even Captain Kirk only had a communicator. They weren't face to face. Like, that idea, everyone forgets, that was fantasy when we were growing up. Having a communicator like Captain Kirk was an impossibility. And this idea that we're all connected and we're able to talk and we're able to express ourselves, we're able to connect to other people. I mean, it's changing everything. It's changed the face of your business. It's changed the face of how people do business. And if you're not doing this, if you're not getting comfortable connecting with I'm in my house by myself. You're not physically here. There is a level of performance here. Like I have to look here and not here. Like if I was being normal, I would look you in the eye, but that doesn't make sense. So I have to train myself to look into this thing. There's this level of there is a performance, and here's the thing that nobody knows that we're just coming into as people and an understanding. You can perform and be your true self. Those are not those are not forces pulling it away at one another. They don't cross each other out. People think a performance means fake. That's not real. That's not true. A true performance, the best actor, acting isn't an act. When Tom Cruise is crying in a movie and he's acting like his dad died, the reason he gets paid so much money and Meryl Streep gets paid so much money to do those things, they're really in that emotional space. They're going there. That's hard to do. That's a learned thing, to actually go emotionally to a space that you have to create yourself. I know you heard Meryl Streep and Tom Cruise, their dads didn't die in that scene, but they are recreating that exact emotion for themselves. They're not acting like it. They're not pretending. They're doing it. That's your job on camera. Be yourself. Just like you would relate to somebody else, you have to be that at a performance level. You have to be that walking down the street. You have to be that when you're making a video by yourself in your house and you're looking into that lens and there's no one there. You have to take the time to say, I'm going to connect one-on-one with the one person watching this. It's not, hey, everybody, or how's everybody doing? There's no mass of people watching you. It's just me talking to you and you talking to me. So yes. Stop using this language, which is so egocentric. And so, hey, everybody, there's no group of people watching you. There's only one person watching you at a time. And it's your job to act like you know that you're making that one-on-one connection with somebody. That is a performance, and it has to be learned. You have to learn it.
So what I know a lot of times when I see coaching clients or just clients in my practice is that a lot of people come into the world and they lose that authenticity because of what is dictated to outside of themselves, right? So circumstance, your little girl, like my little guy when he was born, they went on instinct. They react. They don't react. They're right in the moment, like you're talking about. But as human beings, what happens is people get pricked and prodded, and then they morph into what is expected of them outside of themselves to be able to perform life. And now you're saying the opposite, which is what I agree with completely. I figure if you're connected to yourself, Hank, people are going to either come to you or they're going to repel from you, and you have to be okay with that, first of all.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what you're saying is get comfortable with that. Most people look at people that are successful and say, I want to be like Hank Norman. I want to be, like Roxanne Durhodge. I want to be like Tom Hanks, whatever it is. And they project and think they have to build that in order to become someone. And you're saying the opposite, because we are all I always say it's like our fingertips or our fingerprints. We're unique. We bring something to the world that only one person may listen to, and we may make a change, or we may make a ripple effect across the world. But most people are trying to be someone else because they think, going back to confidence, that person's better than them. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, completely. And it's a mistake, and it's hard to do. Like I just spoke at Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Con, his second one. It was 10,000 people at the Mandalay Bay. And what I love is you get in this bubble, and so tons of people, obviously hundreds of people come up to me, text me like, you were the best. You're the best speaker. And when I finally got onto the 10X Facebook page, I got to hear from people that did. So obviously no one came up to me and was like, you were the worst person that spoke. But finally, when people were speaking more anonymously or not directly to me, I got to hear the comments of people that disliked my speech and how I talk. And what I like about that is that's what I want for everyone. The reason I'm so different from literally every person on that stage, I think it's important to be aware of when you're yourself, you are polarizing. As you mentioned earlier, the term that I learned from out of reading is differentiation. That if somebody tells me they don't like me, I'm not necessarily going to change. I'm not necessarily upset by that information. Like, but the analogy I use for good or for bad, because I'm kind of crass, is if a homeless person, you're walking down the street and a homeless person yells something at you and calls you stupid, do you really take offense to that? Like, does that person know you? Like, that's just some crazy person on the street yelling at you. You have to have that, what getting on camera and seeing yourself and broadcasting yourself and getting that practice has for your business and for you is you get great at being you. Reason I know I do teach self-confidence, and the reason I make people's businesses so successful is because I change you as a person. I get to deliver, you and I get to deliver on what Brene Brown is just talking about. She's a statistician. I teach vulnerability. I teach how to let down your armor and let the world in and see yourself. I take great pride that I stood on a stage in front of 10,000 people, and a lot of people didn't like me. A lot of people said, I got up and left. Good.
Wow.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Then I'm not for you. Or here's the thing. Either you're too stupid. Here's normally what's happened. I pushed a button and like I was talking to some of those people and they stopped talking to me in the comments in Facebook, because mostly why people leave and why people dislike me is because I'm going to tear you to shreds. Because what I'm telling you, I know things that are messed up in your life and I'm going to make you confront them on camera. People don't want to hear that message, and I'm unrelenting. Like, this is my personality. And if you don't like it, then don't listen to me. I don't care. Like, if I bend to please, this is what you start to learn when you get on camera and see yourself and listen to people. You want to be the best version of you. I'm not going to change who I am for someone else, because if I try to please that person, then the people that already like me are like, why did he change? And here's the thing, because I heard it so many times, which is what's the only thing I want to hear. That they may not have loved me. They may not even understood the message I was saying, whether they did or didn't. Everyone agreed, even people that hate me, I was authentic. I was the most authentic speaker they saw. Because guess what? That's what I'm peddling. That's what I teach. Get up there. I didn't try to be a speaker at a motivational conference, 4-day conference, 20, 30 speakers, Ty Lopez, Tim Story, like the biggest names in the country, and me. And I'm not trying to be someone. I'm trying to be me. And if it doesn't work for you, I don't care. And I need you to understand that for you and your job. Like, there's this element of people like, oh my God, it's about my business. I don't want to piss people off. Sorry, this isn't make a commercial in the 70s and hope you please everybody. This is show people who you truly are, and you will attract business to you. Will people be repelled? Of course, sure, some, not enough. More will be so attracted to that realness, that authenticity, that it blows the haters away.
And you know, it's interesting you say that, right? Because of course, with me getting on bigger stages now, some of the feedback I got in New York is that the people that approached me at my booth is, I liked you because you were real. You offered us something different. It wasn't it wasn't motivational. You weren't trying to kind of impress me in any way. But I got, what's that cycle about? What's that cycle that you were talking about? Or tell me about how I stay in the senses. So they actually got something out of it, and then they came. That said, I've looked at that tape, Hank, and I have been the most critical of myself because I just looked at it. And I've just recently met with, I went to a speaker's boot camp just recently last weekend in Cape Coral. And I don't know if you know Ed Tate, but he's a Toastmaster. He was going through the steps. I said, after New York, I left it. I thought, okay, I'm not going to look at it yet. Then I watched it, and then I watched it, and I went, ugh, and I cringed. And then so he had a couple steps, and I'm sure you do like things. He said, watch it normal speed, then watch it without sound, then watch it fast, going forward, backwards, and then just listen to it without video. He says, then you're gonna know exactly where you're at. And I thought, how raw is that? And that's what you're talking about. And interesting, because I was able to see a couple of speakers speak, that went up and spoke. And the people that were too canned, heck, we disconnected. And we're all speakers at a professional level. And I could name to you the ones that went up there and just encapsulated the moment. And I was, am I going to remember what they're selling? At that point, I didn't really remember, but I remembered those stories and I went, wow, I like you. I think I'm going to want to know more about you. And I walked away with that. And these are people that are, on the circuit speaking full time. So it was quite impressive to see that point. So in my business, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying to people, you are born perfect. You come into this world, not all of us had ideal environments. We do the best we can. You've been pricked and prodded like the rest of us in the world. Guess what? You're an adult now. Get over it in a nice way, but get the job done. Figure out what you need to do and figure out that you're the best version of yourself, and you can be. And if you don't have the skills, learn it or figure out who can teach you. And I think what happens is a lot of people go around the world, doing it in different ways. And then they feel like, well, so-and-so didn't like that speech, so I must be doing something wrong, versus kind of saying, well, what parts of it really was good and what could I learn? And I think that's the part that I want you to talk about, because there's skill and there's authenticity. So how do you, with your clients, how do you kind of decipher that? Because some people just need better speaking skills, and some people need to be authentic in order to capitalize for people to see them. So tell me how you kind of approach people like that you coach.
How I do it is I've literally, because I've been doing this so long, I break it down into the tiniest pieces there is. The beginning of speaking and the beginning of branding and even the beginning of getting on stage is what I've even taken into complete macro. Now I have a free course. I can find you the link. I don't know where. I haven't seen it since GrowthCon, but it's what I call 15 seconds to fame, by using the Instagram stories in the upper left-hand corner, that black camera. If you're in Instagram and you press the black camera in the upper left-hand corner, you can go record a 15-second video clip that then gets saved to your story. I don't know if you're consuming them, but I was, and other people's, and I was like, this is such a great tool. 15 seconds to speak, to get under pressure and perform, to actually say something coherently, to actually make a point in 15 seconds that has value to the listener. That idea of breaking it down. So I used to do it in video, longer form video, but my main assignment of how I teach how to be authentic on the stage and how to be authentic in your life comes down to seconds and minutes on video. Facebook Live, I discourage people from starting out and doing, because it doesn't instill good habits and actually instills really bad habits. Okay. Waiting for people. Hey, I'm going to wait. Like, most people don't realize, I don't care how big your audience is. Let's say you have, my Facebook page is full. I have 5,000 people. If I use my personal page, if I'm doing a Facebook Live, only X number of people are going to come to that thing live. Let's say 200 people show up. Great. But me sitting there going, let me wait for more people to come in, more people are going to see your video after it's recorded than are going to see it when it's live. This bad habit of putting yourself first. Let me wait until more people get in here before I start. Then why am I, when I watch your videos later, why am I waiting? Why are you making me wait? This idea of getting on camera and putting me first, this is the creation of authenticity and empathy. This is the change in your business and your life that everyone seeks. When I train people to do 15-second videos and a minute-long video, it's your job to put me first, to solve my problem. I tell people to begin with an opinion. An opinion to me, a producer, I started The View, I've only produced television my whole life. An opinion in the media doesn't mean I think it's raining out, or I think the sky's purple. It's not just an idea. An opinion in the media is your take on the world and how you would fix it. Like Rush Limbaugh has opinions on the right side, on the conservative side, because that's his job, to have conservative opinions about what's wrong with the world and how to fix them. Your job is to have an opinion about what's messed up in my life and how you would fix it for me. So I have people do drills of opinion videos. State your opinion. One that is highly trafficked for me that I send out almost every day is exactly what I said. Here's my opinion video. There is no, hey guys, there is no we, there is no plurality. Stop saying, hey guys. And I then explain that's, you do that for 30 seconds a minute and you get used to handing other people information and being of service and connecting to them and caring about your audience. That's the foundation of a huge brand, of a loyal following, of authenticity, of relatability, empathy. It's the very cornerstone of the beginning of the rest of your life as a business person and a human being. I've transformed people's lives. My good friend Matt Monero now, because I've been working and trained Matt for years, he reached a point in media training with me where he had to take his $100 million business and completely tear it to the ground, fire almost everybody because he couldn't run his business the same way because he had changed as a human being how he wanted to relate to other human beings, and he could no longer work in that vein. He had to change a $100 million business and how he ran his entire business because of his training with me.
So metamorphosis happens regardless of what you're doing. What you're saying is the deeper you get connected, like Matt, he still wanted to be of service, but he recognized that his core inner truth needed to be reflected out to the world in a different way. And he stripped it apart to happen to do that.
He also realized much deeper than that, how he had previously interacted with people was out of anger, was out of old pain from how he was brought up, old behaviors, old habits from who he was. And as he learned to get comfortable with who he actually is today, he realized all that armor, all that bullshit, all that anger, not only wasn't it necessary, it was detrimental.
Right. Wow. So tell me, I know that I'm always learning, and I'm sure a lot of people that will listen to this are always learning because they're trying to get better, right? So it's almost like, I always call it, what are the blind spots in our reality that puts us back either into the past or puts us too forward into the future, right? Right here, right now. I'm talking to Hank Norman. You're in New York City. I'm in Niagara Falls. I'm completely engrossed in everything you're saying. I'm using every sense there is, and I can't wait to hear what next you're going to say. So that's a moment in time. And what happens, I believe, and I know what happens with me, I should speak about me, is sometimes something comes across my mind and it's like, squirrel, off I go for a second, and then I have to redirect. And the only way that I get better at this is like even my podcast, is by doing it, by talking to different people, by having different opinions, by saying what I think. I may not know exactly what I'm saying at that point, but I've said it. And what you're saying is, a lot of times, again, if you're thinking about a lot of us growing up, it's like, don't talk too loud. Kids are to be not be heard. And that's wrong. Or I can't believe you think like that. So again, people stop showing other people who they are, and then they start a business and they're in the social media world and they're like deer in the headlights. They kind of go, what am I supposed to say now? I'm stuck. These 15 seconds Instagram snippets, is that something that you start people off that are trading with you with?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say my brand is Authentic Living with Roxanne. Do I deconstruct my brand by giving bits, or am I talking about,
yes.
What I saw outside? I saw it this morning.
You talk about everything, but the training really is for everybody. And what my entire process does, and what one of the courses in my Star Power University, which is a collection of video workshops where I walk you through, and it's quite intense actually. It's like the second one about scaling your business, speaking to exactly what you're talking about. What happens to people, professionals, everybody, people in general, is you get an expertise, you learn what you learn, and you learn it over years. You either go to school or you're in the workplace, whatever, and you learn this skill. You're a shrink, you're a yoga instructor, you're a plumber, it doesn't matter. You do this thing, you don't know what you know. You can't sit in front of a computer and go, this is my process. Let me explain my methodology. You can't just sit there and say, let me download how I solve problems, because we live in the now. When you encounter a problem, you think about it and you solve it. When I get people, and my course gets you to record your process, working with people, doing whatever it is you do, just like your coach had you watch you speak, I make people watch themselves work. I need you to see you doing what you do, because now you can become objective for the first time in your life, for free, with your phone. For the first time in your life, you can make light year leaps in growth and learning for yourself, because now you can say, oh, when I encounter this type of client, this is the type of advice I give them. You start to see all your clients in categories. You literally come up with the language that you can now explain to other people. This is how I work. That's what social media is all about. All I want you to tell me and show me how you work. Do I want to work with you? Because tell me the advice. Literally, and I gave it to another guy who was supposed to write a book about it. Maybe he will. It's give it away for free. Everything you know in social media, give it away for free. All the advice. No one's going to take it and do it, because they still need your help to utilize that information. Everyone's like, oh, if I give all my information away, then no one's going to want to buy from me or work with me. Complete opposite. When you show to people the value you bring them, when they understand the level of your expertise, the level of detail that you understand about how to help somebody and how you exactly go about helping somebody, that's the person we want to work with. When you demonstrate your expertise, and I teach people how to actually understand their own expertise. You can't talk about how you work with people unless you actually see it. Somebody has to sit there and take notes and say, this is the first step. That's how I developed my own coursework. Without me seeing me coaching people, I wouldn't know that a mission statement is super important. I wouldn't know that your story of origin, how you got to where you are, and then taking your pain and connecting it to power in how to solve problems for your clients, is the connective tissue that makes an unstoppable world-known brand. Like Grant Cardone packed the stadium with 10,000 people because I changed him as a person. I made him realize he had to tap into his personal story. When I met Grant 8 years ago, a couple years into that thing, he kept saying, I don't want to, he was addicted to drugs in his teens and his 20s. His mom kicked him out in his teens, and he became a drug addict in his 20s. And he's like, I'm not going to share that story with people. He didn't think it made sense to share, because he obviously didn't think it helped him to share that information. It sounds like something you wouldn't want to tell people. And he's like, I also don't like to dwell in the past. I think it's a waste of time for me to emotionally spend time regurgitating and living in this thing, which he's almost a billionaire. He's like, I'm not that same guy. I got it, dude. But guess what? Not sharing it is wrong. You not being able to relate to me, your story, and be real and tell me how you overcame something. Once he started doing that, I take full credit for him packing that stadium with 10,000 people. That's the reason I stood on that stage, because I made Grant change his mind. I made Grant do things differently and talk about his life in a way that he was unwilling, uncomfortable, and did not want to do. And when he started to do it, his world changed. He packed a stadium with 10,000 people. The people sitting up front, every seat was a $15,000 seat.
Wow.
He shares his story, and the world came calling. He can't stop them. He has rabid fans that will do anything he asks, because he's being himself. He's being real. He's telling you how he did it and how it works, and he's not scared to share that story. And it's changed his life, and it's changed mine.
Because most people are afraid to share those potholes, Hank.
I know.
Well, what if I had, I got pregnant when I was young, or if I dabbled in drugs, or, I saw violence, I saw violence when I was young, and I share it in my book. So my book is based on kind of my reality of growing up and seeing uncertainty. And as a therapist, I analyzed my own life. I said, you know what? People look at me, they might see me on a stage like you did and think, she's never been through anything. And then I talk about, no, I saw a lot of stuff. I have a successful life now. And what happened after 25 years, it showed back up. So I took my book and I analyzed my own life that I would do anybody else. And then I wrote about it. And I said to the reader, here's the deal. You can do the same thing too, because everybody that's a doctor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist or an actor or, whatever they are, they've all had issues in their life. They've also overcome certain things. And if it's relationships for you, I'm telling you, I have this great life, but there was one part There was this gaping hole. And guess what I did? I overcompensated by everything else, and I plugged that hole until that hole said, guess what? I'm not hiding you anymore. And then it blew up. And so for me, people will say to me, you know, a lot of people are going to deal with you. I've been told that. I go, yeah. And I go, okay, well, that I can understand. But then there's a lot of people that are going to say, wow, who's this psychologist that just told her that she saw violence when she was young and she ended a 25-year marriage because the replication wasn't the same, but he was emotionally unavailable. So I got that early. So at first I went and I launched my book in 2014. I said, oh, what do I do? I've already written the book, so I've dropped off, you know, the deep end. I'm in the pool. I can't back up now. And I didn't really think through it at that point when I wrote it, because I was being completely raw, saying, here I am. I think if I can go through all of this in my life and still make a pretty good life, that anybody can, hoping that even if one person read it, that I would have made a change. So I did it a bit different. So maybe I was probably at the Hank Norman School a little bit earlier, not knowing it. And that's what I try to teach when I interact with people or speak. Be yourself. We're human. We get, you know, we get flooded, we get knocked down, our thoughts get in our way, but that does not define who you are. Show it sometimes. You know, sometimes you don't want it to be completely raw all the time, but you want to at least let people know that you're real. And I can tell you by the feedback that I've gotten since I started my business, it has been good. And I'm learning how to step more into it, and when is it appropriate to share it and when is it not appropriate, based on the context of where I am at in my career too.
Yeah.
So this is all phenomenal stuff. I've not had anyone like you that has spoken to this depth of, I would say, brand identity, authenticity, social media. I've not had anybody speak about that. So would love for you to tell people where they can find you. I know there's a course that you'd like to promote. So please tell people where they can find you, Hank, and so that they can connect with you.
I'm super active on Twitter. I mean, Facebook changed their algorithm, so you can't get in you can like my business page, but Facebook's totally messed up that whole paradigm. So.
Sure. No, I can't hear you now. I don't know what happened. Oh,
now?
Yes, I can. Something happened there for a second. I went, oh my goodness, I lost you.
Yeah, a call came in, so it muted it, I think. Okay. So yeah, I'm super active on Facebook and Twitter, but it's hard to get. I can't let anybody else in on my Facebook feed. Twitter is where I'm most active, at Hank Norman. And on Instagram, I'm doing my 15 seconds to fame. I do my Instagram stories daily. It's like it's the free gym we all have for getting better and getting. But I've had people just do 15 seconds to fame, just make those Insta stories, and they've doubled business in a week by just making.
So 15 minutes to fame is actually a course that you offer?
It is, but it's literally just the extras. I just tell you how to do different types of videos. But yeah, 15 seconds of fame is a course. But literally, here's the secret. Press record. Go in the upper corner in Instagram and press the button and record yourself and get good at making 15-second videos. Your business will change. Like, trust me. I've had everybody contact me within a week and saying, I did 3 15-second videos and I nailed 3 more clients. I got extra $10,000 this week. Thank you. Like, trust me, it's a game changer. So yeah, I packaged all that up and it's called Star Power University. I'll send you a link. You can Google it. Here's the thing. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in any business and you're not leveraging free marketing, social media to get you and the word out there about who you are, I'm not sure if you're spending ad dollars elsewhere, it's crazy. So I can't understand somebody buying advertising but not taking advantage of becoming the person people want to see in social media. So they want to buy from people they like. They want to buy from people they know. You have to make yourself accessible in this world in social media. There's no way around it.
Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get off this call and I'm going to go do that and I'm going to test it. Because I could see what you're talking about in reference to being authentic. And every time I see you talk, and you weren't on stage in New York, and I was hoping you were going to be on stage. So, and I didn't make Grant Cardone's, and I knew you were going to be, and I read I was looking at all the feedback on Facebook. I saw the whole stuff going on. So I really was sore that I missed it, but thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. I am going to check out your courses because I know I have a lot more to learn about showing my true authentic self. And Hank, I will embed the links and everything when I send this out. So not to worry, everybody should be able to get to you and just check you out on Twitter, on Instagram there. So again, thanks so much for listening. Again this week, be authentic. That's all you have. You have one go round, and be the best version of who you are, scars and all. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.